But let's go out to Eric Engels now. Sportsnet Montreal joining us. Looking forward to this chat. Been with Sportsnet a long time, but he's new to the TV side of things. How you doing, Eric?
Not that new. Been with them for 5 years and doing TV all along, and 13 years on the beat with the Canadiens. So doing a lot of TV since then. It's a pleasure to join you guys.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to join you. And I saw the interview last week. It was a big week for the Montreal Canadiens. Started with the draft, obviously the Domi trade that day, signing Brendan Gallagher. Can you give me the pulse, the temperature of Habs fans here this week? How are they feeling about the moves?
I think they're excited. I mean, there's been a lot of positive momentum since March when they were a 24th place team and on their way to barreling towards the lottery pick. I think you look at what they were able to do in the bubble in Toronto, and they turned a lot of heads. But more than anything, they gave something to Marc Bergevin to work with. He took a look at the roster and said, this is better than I thought it was. And these players, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Nick Suzuki among them, the young guys, stepped into the spotlight. And he was also able to see that the old dogs and Carey Price and Shea Weber were very much at the top end of their game. And so it accelerated the reset he embarked on in the summer of 2018, and the moves that he's made since, whether they've made the fans excited or not, I think they're going to make the players in that room pretty excited. They've got a lot more depth. They've got a lot more balance. And it wasn't just adding players for the sake of adding them. Marc Bergevin has added to the areas that were of need. A reliable backup goaltender in Jake Allen, a guy in Joel Edmondson who brings size and speed on the back end. Maybe he's not the best puck mover, but he's a guy that fits well with what they have and pushes, a young up-and-coming defenseman and Alex Romanov to the third pairing, gives him time to break in. And then the two guys up front, a power forward and Josh Anderson, they haven't had that type of player since John LeClair was in their roster. We're going back to 1995, and Tyler Toffoli comes in on a pretty good value deal.
I'm going to come back around on all of that, but Eric, are you a born and raised Montrealer or Quebecer at least?
Yeah, born and raised in Montreal, and wasn't sure that I'd be able to make it work and have a career in this line of work here in Montreal. It's quite competitive, and there's not a lot of jobs in the English marketplace, so it's been a thrill of a lifetime to make it work here.
I was just going to ask you that. Do you feel like you're living a dream every single day, following and covering the Montreal Canadiens and reporting to schnoops like us across the land? You must.
You know what? It's a ton of fun, and it certainly is a dream come true, although I can't say that as a teenager I had ambitions of getting into this line of work. I was kind of, I got a political science degree and wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And my whole life people had told me, you should be a hockey broadcaster. You have the knowledge of the game. And, I was able to gain some writing experience and gaining that degree, and things just kind of fell into place. But I'll tell you, I'm sure you can empathize with this, or at least relate to it, is that when you find something that you feel you're good at, and there's a feeling like you can get better and better at it, that's where the real pleasure is derived from. So it's been a blast for 13 years, and I just want to keep getting better at doing it.
Good for you. Well, I can tell. And it doesn't feel like work. I know what you're saying. So with Claude Julien having to leave the bench with the heart issue in the playoffs, it seems like we never really got an update on that afterwards, and Bergevin's been front and center really since. What is the status of Claude Julien health-wise?
Yeah, you know what? I think he's feeling pretty good. We spoke to him a couple times since, and Marc Bergevin, confirmed that he'd be back behind the bench next year, and I think that's great news. Anybody who knows Claude Julien is a great guy. He's a wonderful man, and one of the hardest working coaches in the business. And you had to wonder after what happened with him in the bubble. Obviously having severe chest pains to the point where he was hospitalized and had a procedure to have a stent put into his heart. You had to wonder if he was going to be able to stand up to the rigors of the job in Montreal, where the pressure is unrelenting. And, also he's over 60 years old. So great news that he's able to be back. I think, I don't want to promise, but I think there's a chance we're going to speak with him this week, certainly to get his reaction on the moves that have been made by Marc Bergevin over the last few weeks. And I'm wishing Claude all the best. Great human being, great person, great to deal with. And I think he's a really good coach.
Hey, Eric, it's Darren DuPont here. I asked this because you've got Saku Koivu over your right shoulder there on the wall, which I love to see. And I want to ask, who is the identity of the Canadiens now? Carey Price aside, he's probably it. But is it Brendan Gallagher? Is it Shea Weber? Who's the guy that embodies that's kind of their identity right now moving forward, do you think?
Yeah, good question. By the way, this is a painting that my wife made for me about 10 years ago. It's Saku Koivu scoring on a shootout against Andrew Raycroft. And Raycroft has seen the painting, so he didn't give me too much grief over that. Koivu definitely embodied what they were trying to be back then, and I think the guy who wears his number right now, Brendan Gallagher, is very much the identity of the Montreal Canadiens. They're a relentless, in-your-face pest type of team. And he's good, and they are too now. I think, you look at the depth of the roster and the balance that's there. They've become a good team kind of overnight, such as the luxury of playing in a cap system. And when you have the money to spend and fill holes, all of a sudden you're in a different place. And they've got a good prospect system, certainly. I think people around the hockey league rank them in the top 5 as far as the depth of their prospect pool and the talent that's there. They've got all their draft picks to make their team better if they want to moving forward. And they've just got the incentive to finally come out of this kind of dark period that they've been through. And I think when you look at the way they play and the way they're coached, Brendan Gallagher is the perfect embodiment of that.
By the way, we interrupt this interview. Breaking news, Elliot Freeman reporting the Vancouver Canucks have signed former Brandon Wheat King Jace Howerluck to a two-way deal, $800,000 in the show, $200,000 in the minors. So congratulations to Jace Howerluck. Moving forward, I was going to ask you about the Gallagher deal. When Marc Bergevin got choked up announcing that deal there, you don't see that very often, man. Like, if at all. What did you think when you saw that? It really hit me.
Yeah, it hit me too. And it hit me because there was 24 hours in between Gallagher signing and us being able to speak to Bergevin and Gallagher about the signing. So what I had written in the interim was that, when you have a player that wants to be in Montreal long-term and you have a team that wants to commit to him long-term, the optics of there being tension between both parties shouldn't be something you want to linger in the marketplace if you're the general manager. And, I think maybe I was wrong about that. I think what was more important to Marc Bergevin was making it clear to Brendan Gallagher that, he cared so much about him that he didn't want a second to go by with Gallagher feeling as though his time as a Montreal Canadien might be up and that he wasn't as valued as he had thought he was. I think that was the key incentive that got this thing on the rails as quickly as it did. There was obvious middle ground for them to come to, whether they were fighting about term or, I think that's more likely than the number amount, because I think Gallagher wanted term more than anything, and he ended up with 6 years. And I think, an offer that made sense for him. I had predicted before he signed that it would be 5 years at an average value of $6.6 million. He signed for 6 years, and the annual average was 6.5. I just felt if he was going to leave 6 or 7 on the table, he needed a bit more than Chris Kreider made on his deal that was signed in February, which was worth 6.5 AAV. So all to say, what it told me is, Mark, that was a genuine, visceral reaction from Marc Bergevin. He loves the player. He's the heart and soul of the Canadiens, as he's been referred to several times by everyone in the organization. And, I just think Bergevin is all about, he's a former player. He is part of the group here. And yes, he is the manager and he has to make hard decisions and he has to put on an all business cap at times, but he's an extremely passionate guy. And, he loves the player and with good reason.
Last one, because I could talk about this all day, but I'll let you go after this. Jamie in Halifax is watching. He wants to know if you believe the NHL will have a Canadian division, and if so, is Montreal getting bigger with skill like the Leafs to help compete with teams like Boston, etc.? One thing at a time. Do you think we'll have this coveted all-NHL division next season?
Yeah, my answer today could be different than what it is in 2 months. And I think the NHL is in a position where they have to put together 2, 3, 4 plans and go with the one that they're allowed to go with. Because in the end, it's not about what they want. It's about what what evolves medically and politically here for them to make a decision. But if you're asking me today what's going to be, the answer today has to be that, yeah, an all-Canadian division makes the most sense of anything. That with travel restricted going to late November now, I think the Trudeau government just announced, the border is shut down between the States and Canada, and there's just all kinds of logistical issues with flying people in and out of here to make exceptions, and then you have quarantines to deal with. It just doesn't make sense. So the idea of the Canadian teams playing exclusively against each other this season is more real right now than any other idea that's being proposed, and I think it's the right one. It also means that I don't see much separation outside of Ottawa. I don't see a lot of separation between the 6 other teams in Canada, and that could every fan base hates. I don't want to say they hate every other team in Canada, but they certainly want to believe that their team is the best, and there's a natural rivalry element that's there, and I think it could be great for Canadian television ratings, and I think it could be great for Rogers Sportsnet, and I think I would be really excited about it. But the separation between the teams is minimal, and you look at a team like Montreal and what they've just added and the investment they've just made, and imagine now how much harder it becomes for them. But even so, if it ends up being the Atlantic Division, as to the second part of your question, I think they've climbed up the ranks in there, but it's a competitive division between Boston, Tampa, Toronto. Who knows what'll happen with the other teams in the division. Buffalo has certainly improved. Florida, I think a lot of people are counting out, but they still have a couple of superstar players that are at the heart of their roster. So, I think the Canadians have to be extremely excited about what they have moving forward, and they also have to know that you got to make the playoffs, and that's going to be harder to do than it's ever been before if it ends up being an all-Canadian division. And if it ends up being the Atlantic Division, there's improvements there.
I think it's okay to use the term hate. Flames fans hate Oilers, vice versa. Habs, Leafs. It's okay. I know it's taboo in today's society.
I just don't want to generalize, that's all.
I know, but it makes sports fun. Eric, we enjoy your stuff, man. Keep it up. I appreciate the time today, and stay safe there in that COVID hotspot.
Thanks for having me, and keep up the great work. I like the show.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Nice words there.
Oh, yeah.
Guaranteeing we'll have him back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Suck up to the host. Yeah. You'll be on.
No, I like his stuff a lot.
He's good.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.